A warm welcome to those of you here this afternoon with us and those who will be watching our interview on our YouTube channel now or later. My name is Lorna and I'm a member of the ministry team here in Peter Mancroft Church. It's Holy Week, a very special week for us in the church as we journey towards Easter, a quiet, sometimes somber week, but a time to recall the good things, and especially the good things that have happened this year. There has been so much done in and around Norwich to support, help and encourage people during this last year of COVID-19. And on Wednesdays in March, I have talked to just a few of the excellent people about what they have been doing and what they've been providing. And I'm very pleased this afternoon to be able to welcome my guest, Fraser Wilson. Hello.
Hello.
Of Fraser Bridge. I am very pleased to have you here today.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here. Thank you. Thanks.
So Fraser is Senior Manager of the Norfolk and Norwich Festival Bridge. Is that right?
Mm-hmm, that's right.
And the aim of the bridge, I understand, is connecting children and young people with great arts and culture. What a lovely job.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a joy.
Fraser's also a composer, a performer, a consultant and a facilitator. So it's a privilege for me to be able to speak to him today about the sort of thing that Festival Bridge have been doing here in Norwich and the creative packs they've been providing for children and young people whose lives have been badly disrupted by the pandemic. So, Fraser, I'll grill you now.
I'm ready.
Yeah. You've said that a group got together to do whatever you could to address the different issues raised by COVID, and that on your part, you decided to invite people to be creative. Can you tell me something about how it began and how the people involved got together to do it?
Sure. Well, it started a year ago, almost to the day, when COVID really kicked off and we all got locked down. Feels like a different world now, doesn't it? But of course, schools were closed, and overnight it became clear that that had caused a huge problem because there were a lot of children and young people in Norwich, in Norfolk, and everywhere who couldn't access the internet. So they couldn't access their lessons, but neither could they access some of the other things that usually would be their source of connection and joy and creation. So we, and the word is we, because I'm only a tiny part of a really big group of people who have this kind of shared determination on this, decided that that was a top priority. There were others, which we also addressed as we went along. So very, very quickly we started creating printed booklets of creative activities, which were suitable as much as possible for all ages and all kind of backgrounds of children and young people, so that they had something at home, even though they were really cut off from pretty much the outside world, that that inspired them to create. Creativity for me, and I think for all of us who are doing this together, really is kind of a building block of life. It's something that we all deserve in our lives, whatever form that might take. So the opportunity to do something quick and easy, which has since become more of a mission and more of a kind of ongoing project, we just had to take it. So yeah, as I say, overnight we collected activities, printed them up, and then gathered this kind of group of people around us from all sorts of different sectors, not just arts and education, which is my employers, my colleagues' kind of daily sectors that we work with, but food banks and homeless shelters and job centres and a whole ton of people to get them to households. And then that has become a much more ongoing kind of programme of work. But it all started with COVID and that kind of overnight realisation of something's got to be done here.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's a story, a national story, actually, that this is happening, but it's brilliant. And so it's obvious that what you think about creativity, but how important do you think creativity is in difficult times? What's the value of it?
I think it's an incredible tool in any times. because it enables us to express ourselves, to connect with ourselves and other people. It has so many benefits. It would take the rest of our 15 minutes for me to just give you a list.
Yeah.
But there's just an absolute ton of things that creativity can do and be in our lives. So at a time when, you know, there are challenges of whatever kind, it's even more of a tool, of a resource, of a thing that we can have within us as a kind of intrinsic, I was going to say skill, but it's like a skill and a talent and a resource that enables us just to shift things a little bit, you know. Do a 5-minute sketch and your mood is a little bit lifted, or listen to some music and either you're more in the mood of the music or it's changed you into a different mood, or, you know, dance with a colleague or a friend, or, you know, do some painting, and it just moves things on. And so I think I always believed, and I think this last year has shown, that yes, creativity in difficult times is one of the things that can really, really make a big difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it certainly does. Yeah. And you have provided these packs for children and young adults. And who puts them together? I mean, they are for young parents as well, have been using them, haven't they?
Yeah.
And who actually puts them together for you and sorts all that out? And, and you told me a little about how they get distributed.
Yeah.
But what do they go along with when they're distributed? And
Sure. Well, I brought one. So this is one that we created last summer called Let's All Create, and it was summer holiday activities.
Can I actually
Yeah,
have
of
a
course,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
lovely. I don't know whether it's not easy to see it, but
But
it's a wonderful, thick. But, and that's on the web, is it, as well?
Yeah, if you search for Festival Bridge, you should find it pretty easily.
I think it's probably the one I looked at and spent some time with.
Did you
A
have
little
fun?
bit of doing stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely loved it. I'll tell you later what I found. Yeah, that's lovely.
Thank you. So, so this has activities in it from a whole range of sources, including local artists of all kinds who we commissioned to create activities specially for it.
Brilliant.
And of course for them as well. I mean, you know, a ton of people's livelihoods have completely disappeared again overnight through COVID. So, you know, for there to be a little bit of work for people in this, I think was helpful and we felt was important. They came up with amazing ideas. There's also things in here from a national organisation called 64 Million Artists. 64 million is the population of England, and so this is an organisation that believes that creativity is for everybody. We can all be creative. We all are creative. Some of us tell ourselves we aren't, or we can't, or that's not for me. I mean, the other night I did a life drawing session online, and you should see me. I was like, I can't draw, but I did. I had a go, and I've got some artwork out of it, so I think it was okay. Anyway, probably draw a veil over that. But 64 million artists have these wonderful, accessible, enjoyable activities for people to join in with. There's also some things in here by graduates of Norwich University of the Arts and indeed current students who are, you know, emerging creators in our city.
Yeah.
Which it was really great to be able to do as well. So there's a whole ton of things. What we want to do next, one of our ideas, which we've already kind of done bits with, but the next one of these will be really focused on, I think, is ideas of children and young people to create their own activities. So, you know, there's a really, really, really big topic, I think, for us about young people deciding, because they know best, what they want and need. And, like, they're in charge. We're here to support them and serve them, really. And then, so yeah, this was designed up by a wonderful partner in our group elsewhere in the region, and then printed by a company here in Norwich, and then shipped to distribution centres all around our region, and Festival Bridge covers Norfolk, Suffolk, Peterborough and Cambridgeshire, so it's a big spot, but a big focus here in Norwich, to these centres, and then from there, they went out via schools, via some of the places I listed earlier. Here in Norwich, people like the Common Lot who work in Mile Cross.
Oh, I know the Common Lot.
Oh, they're
Yes,
wonderful.
we've worked for them. I've worked for them as a steward.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yes.
Well, you'll know then. I mean, they do such great stuff.
Yes.
It really changes those young people's lives. And those communities, it's so great.
Yeah.
And then, but what's so powerful about that is that it's really direct. It's the people who have that day-to-day contact with families who are bringing this wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
And then it becomes part of the provision. And I've heard it said a lot of times now. The first few times I heard it, I was like, wow, that's powerful. That actually being creative, creative resources are as important as food.
Yeah.
I mean, that really struck me. Wow.
Yeah.
But I believe it.
I
really
think
do.
you're right. I do think you're right. So I know that you're very concerned about poverty and inequality in our society, and that the pandemic's brought that into focus, and we know that. And how have your views changed in this time? You know, how have they changed because of all of this?
Well, I think what has become really clear is that the disadvantage and inequity that was already in our society, things like poverty and discrimination and a whole ton of things, have become more polarised, and that you know, there are a lot of people who, in big and small ways, are isolated and kind of set apart, and that feels like quite a topic for Holy Week as well, doesn't it? So
Yes.
it's a good time to have this conversation.
Yes, on the margins, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's very, very important to feel and to behave from a place of like those people are as important as everybody else.
Yes.
They're not there to be done things to.
No.
We're all in it together. So I think my view has really, really become, you know, that it's down to all of us who are in privileged positions to do our bit, do as much as we can to tackle those things. I mean, you know, going back to what you said about the organisation, I'm so privileged to work for, Festival Bridge, part of the Norfolk and Orange Festival, which kicks off in 6 weeks in mid-May. I'm so excited. It's actually going to happen.
Yes.
I'm in this privileged position that, you know, our mission is a fantastic cultural education for all children and young people. Of course, what that means in practice is addressing the inequity of access to creativity, to arts and culture, through schools, beyond schools, you know, in communities, which is a potentially endless task. And actually what we do as a priority is focus in on where we can make the biggest difference.
Yeah.
So part of what we did with a Christmas campaign that ran across Norfolk with a fantastic kind of really quickly got together group called the Norfolk Creativity Collective, which again is just hundreds of people and organisations that believe in this stuff. Part of that was a crowdfunding campaign for more booklets and more materials like this. And I could not believe that there were some children who donated like £1 or £5. I just thought, how powerful. And if we all diverted our funds to people who were really in need in kind, giving, selfless ways, then, you know, what a fantastic world we could be building together.
We would. Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. We're nearly out of time. I'm really sad. But you've answered most of the questions beautifully. You will have to come again, Fraser. Yes, yeah. And I think that, you know, you're saying what we've learned for the future, really, from the pandemic. And I love what you said. You said we're all in it together. And I think that's a thought that I can sit with for a while. We're all in it together. And I think that says it all, actually.
Well, that would be my final thought, if I'm allowed one.
Yes, you have got a final thought.
That we are all in it together, and that the arts, you know, to be creative is one of the things that reminds us of that, and that can, as you say, take us forward together. I mean, we were talking before this about the music here.
Yes.
You know, it's just amazing that the choir have continued to sing and the music has continued to happen. There is such power in doing your thing alongside other people to whatever standard. You don't have to be professional. It can be your job, it can be your pastime, it can be your passion, whatever. It's a thing for us all. And I think that's what we really see now, isn't it?
Yeah, being together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll end, before I really want to, but I will end. I'll end with a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the individuals, groups and organisations that have been so active during this long year in their efforts to help those in need. We thank you for those who are working to include the isolated and the anxious. We thank you for those who have supported and included children during their enforced break for so long from school. And as we emerge out of this time and this lockdown slowly and carefully, grant us the courage not to return to our old ways, but to rebuild a world that is together with justice, equality, and peace for all. Amen. Thank you so much, Fraser.